Welcome to another episode of Lab to Market. Today we have an exciting guest, David Creelman, author of many books and publications on the subject of HR and what I would call an abject expert in the topic. Joining us also is Fuad Mia, my usual co-host, joining us from sunny BC, which I think that's a bit of a oxymoron sometimes. Sunny BC. So, David, our audience might not be familiar with who you are. Could you give us the quick overview of who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so I mean, I go back 30 years into HR consulting, but I've spent maybe the last 15 years, more than that actually, almost 20 years focusing where half my practice is on research and writing as opposed to just straight out consulting. And my practice is very global. Even though I'm based in Canada, at least half the businesses from countries, Asia, Europe, US. And I'm very, very interested in what it's going to take to make substantial leaps forward in AI and management in general, which is why I'm interested in what guys like you are doing.
Very cool. So, it's been a turbulent couple of years for everyone, especially in the HR world. And surprisingly, the HR world's been more rocked by the aftermath of the pandemic than during it. Are you seeing these shifts? Are your clients coming to you and saying, what do we do now? How do we retain talent?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess the two big things are, so retaining, and very often it's more about acquiring talent than retaining talent. That seems to be where the pain point shows up most vividly, where suddenly you have a vacancy and you just can't fill it, which is different than in the past. And the other issue is all this concern about hybrid work. In other words, how often do we force people to come into the office? And that's been a more contentious issue than I imagined it would be.
Absolutely. And so what is your position on hybrid work?
Yeah,
out of curiosity.
Yeah, so I worked remotely for almost 20 years. And so to me, it's second nature. And as I say, I've got clients all around the world. So it has to be remote a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
So I just don't see any problem with remote work. It is nice to get together with people occasionally, and I do that. I do that. If it's in Toronto where I live, you go and meet somebody for coffee or lunch, or maybe you have a meeting in their office. I do a modest amount of international travel, so every few years I'm in Japan and I'll see clients face to face there. But fundamentally, it's not really hybrid. It's really I'm 95% remote, and that is supplemented with 5% in person on an as needed basis. If somebody said, "Oh, we need you to come into the office 2 or 3 days a week," I would really wonder why that is. Now, they say, "Okay, well, that's you, David. What about everybody else?" And I would say that for the vast majority of white collar workers who do their work on computers, so it's a wholly different world if you're a barista or if you're working on a lathe or something like that. But there really is there's little or no reason to go into the office on other than an as needed basis. So you might decide. So if I were leading a company, I might decide that we're going to have an all hands meeting every second Monday, and we like to do that face to face. And so you would have that, but it wouldn't be much more than that. The idea that people need to be in the office just to show their face in the office, I think is counterproductive. And I think people quickly learn that it is counterproductive. And the CFO will be walking around saying, "Why am I paying for all this expensive commercial real estate when only half the people are here?" I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sorry. Well, here's one other thing is that you say, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go in 2 days a week because I do want to see the people." You go in and you find that, well, actually only 40% of the people are here. Half the people I wanted to see, they're working other days. So the office vibe isn't there anyway right? Some of the people I want to see aren't there anyway. So I think, why did I go through this hellish commute when only half the people are here anyway? Meanwhile, and I had this experience. So I had a remote employee when when I was at HR.com, and we worked, almost everybody worked in the office most of the time in those days. Anyway, but he was mainly remote, and he would come in. And he was an analyst, a high end research analyst. And so what would he do when he's in the office? He would spend the whole day going around chit chatting to people. And I'd say, go home and do some work. I don't want you in the office. You're far more productive when you're at home instead of socializing. I think we'll see some of that as well. So,
and I think that's been our experience with Uncanny Lab, because from the moment it was, born, this company's been fully remote. And I feel like we have a good culture for it. Like, we talk to all the devs through chat, through Meet. We're in constant, what I like to call, equilibrium of communication, the right amount. Could we have done that with an office and physical space?
I think it would be very difficult. Even now, I was able to take some time, well, not necessarily off, but I was able to tag along with my family while completely shutting my calendar off. That would be almost impossible. I'd be making almost everyone around me unhappy. Now I'm connected with my team. I just did my dev meeting while I was in a walk by the ocean. I just stopped by. My calendar told me it's time to meet up. I was having my coffee and quick 10 minutes meeting. But what I'm trying to say is that for so long, we had so many psychological barriers that there would be lack of creativity. There would be, monitoring that, or small to medium-sized businesses, even enterprises, would you have seen that they have this culture of monitoring, and if they can't monitor, then they think that their staffs are not working. And I mean, that has been shifted a little bit. We have seen in the last 2-3 years tremendously in light of COVID. But now I think we're facing new challenges where employers are, coming with this concept of hybrid work, but they're still pushing that you have to come to work 2 to 3 days without a purpose. I mean,
it's arbitrary. It's just,
as
those are the
David
days I feel comfortable with.
Right, as David was saying, that if you have a purpose, absolutely come in. But if you don't have a purpose, just for the sake of bringing them in, I think that needs to be revisited now by the decision makers and really think out of the box. And there are tools to, actually bring everyone and give that immersive experience remotely. Meeting where your workers are, meeting where where customers are,
Where they work, right?
Right.
I mean, Workspace is a great tool for that, because it's an ecosystem. I mean, you can draft your documents together, you can chat, you can meet, and it's all in one ecosystem. And I mean, Microsoft's the same one. They're getting there. I think it's a little more disjointed, but it's great to be able to do all this in one place and have everyone kind of in that ecosystem.
Right. We don't.
So let me. Oh, go ahead, Fuad.
I mean, I'm not discounting the fact that we still need to connect face to face, and that could be the purpose. That, hey, come in and connect face to face on this day. We're gonna, mingle. We're gonna have great food. And
you mean a purposeful team building day?
Right.
I just want to say two things for it. There are two really important things for it. One is that he has and is familiar and seems familiar with a whole suite of tools that are just great, that create the, as you said, the appropriate amount of communication. So these tools do exist, and I can imagine people in a face-to-face meeting saying, gosh, I wish I had some of these online tools, because I'm used to having a whole variety of communication. But the tools is a big part of that, and they're getting better all the time. But maybe tools are maybe easy. Maybe the hard part is Fuad's attitude, which is that he doesn't have to be looking over someone's shoulder to know if they're working.
So, with that said, could we say that it's almost a management anxiety why they want people in the office? And then to further that, you know, can tools like conversational AI that's giving them measurements on conversations and work kind of offset that and maybe encourage management to adopt less stringent hybrid roles?
Well, let's ask Fuad that. That's a tough question.
If I understand the question right, see, measuring is really important, but let's take a step back and see how they help us to do our job better. As David was saying, imagine I often prefer remote meeting with customers versus face to face because it gives me some augmented capability to perform better, such as I could message Justin without, seeming rude. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
on my using my left hand or right hand, there's another keyboard right here. I could get more additional intelligence. My communication channel would be in, many direction, while being able to deliver an exceptional, quality of qualitative to our customers, which I can't during boardroom meeting. I don't have those different directional intelligence. I am also being able to pull on a different screen right now, the notes that I had, things that I could bring. I could do quick research, David. If you talk about a company or someone as a thought leader or a model in HR, I'd be able to bring that up, and right away it would be related to me. I mean, I would be able to relate to that. uh, all of this intelligence that I could be, as you in one of your article wrote, the alerts, that will make me more contextually aware, or give me those ability to do better. That's precisely it. Think about Google Docs. When I am writing with in a doc with three other colleagues, um, versus writing in a notepad that needs to be converged later on together. Even I'm working with Justin across, a table. We're most likely working on a Google Doc when we are collaborating on a document versus a notepad.
Well, we're really working digitally at the same table. I'm on my laptop, you're on your laptop, we're in the same document, but we're just in the
And
same room. I mean,
this is what David was saying from experience, and I agree with that as well. That sometimes in our on-premise meetings, we miss the digital tools, and we are almost doing suboptimal work. But again, I'm not discounting our face to face. Now let's come back to tools again. I think if you know the right tools, if you have figured it out, and if you can coexist with them, then you've really augmented your ability. Um, but for example, let's say for the first time, if you're using Google Docs, of course there would be a learning curve. And if those learning curves could be um, facilitated by organizations, um, that could be a great opportunity. We also think that vendors have done tremendous, amazing job in the last decade and a half. They have incorporated their tools into educational system. So when you're, new hiree coming out of school, there is nothing to train them on. They know how to use email. They know how to, do omni-channel communication. They know how to do, how to collaborate on Google Docs. And not only that, they know all the advanced features in Google Slides. 50 students at a time, doing one slide in micro minutes. Um, so, so I think the tools, when the organizations have found the right tools and they're continuously evolving with the emerging tools, and give the right tools to the right people, give them the training that's needed. For example, Justin, you and I have seen when we walk into organizations who have been using Google Docs for the last decade, they still don't know many of the things that could, accelerate many things that they do. One common thing, David, we see that people schedule their Zoom meetings in Zoom. They come to their Outlook calendar or Google Calendar, copy paste the link, recreate that event to invite people. You're talking about 15 minutes. disappearing. But if there was a plugin, and there is, that you just do the calendar event and it automatically creates all of your meeting link, you add the participants, you are all in one place, 30 seconds to 45 seconds versus 15 minutes every time. Now, if you are doing this, repeating this 5 times a day, that's an hour and a half gone versus 2 minutes for all of that job 5 times a day. So absolutely, that tools exist. Many tools exist. Organizations have to find the right ones that fit in their ecosystem, in their workflow, that augments their ability, train the staff, the corporation, and then you will see aggregated productivity immediately.
And I want to give two different approaches, and I think you should use both approaches in implementing this idea of giving people the right tools and training them. Is that you probably have some kind of central IT department which is making decisions on what kind of office tools are we going to use, and they'll help you find the right training and so on. So that's the centralized sort of top-down approach. If I were, and I'm in the HR space, if I were an HR manager, whenever I'm hiring people, I would always lean towards hiring somebody who is tech savvy over someone who isn't, no matter what role they're in. So, in the training, we're hiring some trainers. Gosh, I'd like to have at least a few people in the department who love technology. If I'm hiring talent acquisition people, I definitely want to have a bunch of people who are not just good recruiters, but people who love technology. And then those people would be bringing in tools to my department that we could use, and they'd be the ones who know the kind of shortcuts for that Justin, that and they'd be teaching everybody else. So we wouldn't be sitting there telling IT, when can you train us give us Zoom training? They say no, we've just hired this young gal and she knows it all. She's gonna and you don't have to say anything, because as long as you kind of empower her, she'll be out there helping her teammates use these new tools as a matter of course. So you want both. You want the corporate top-down standards and so on, but you also want to just hire savvy people in your department who can take the lead informally.
I really do like that, because there's always in larger organizations the feeling that the tech department and every other department is at odds with each other. So embedding technically savvy people inside of teams is a much more cohesive approach than, I have to launch a ticket and wait and resent them for how long I have to wait.
100%. I think what David is saying is really impacting the culture from the core, and that's brilliant, right? For the HR to be aware of that and construct teams with that in mind, that will really take the culture, to the next level.
Now, Justin, you'd raised the issue of conversational AI, and I just wanted to give one example that comes to mind that relates to remote versus in-house work. Again, this goes back to our original discussion of, if we're having people located in a physical space all at the same time, there should be a purpose for it. I can imagine some managers saying, you know what, we have a lot of different projects going on, and there are a load of different project teams. And part of the way that I manage, and I keep my finger on the pulse, is I kind of wander around, I pop into meetings, I look through the window and I see the expression on people's faces. If we have a client in, I want to make sure that I'm in tune with what's happening in that conversation. And you say, okay, so now we know what you're trying to solve for. Your goal is to be on top of what's going on in the meetings in your organization. Mm-hmm. At which point you guys might say, well, there's no better way to keep on top of it than have a conversational AI automatically produce summaries of key points in the different meetings. So that as the leader, I always have access to these summaries, and I scan. Some teams I don't worry about at all. I don't even look at the summary. Other teams I do read all the summaries, and occasionally I say, oh well, this doesn't look good. I better see the transcript. And and I know there are more sophisticated things where like the summary might just be here are the key points talked about in the meeting. There could also be a sentiment analysis where it says, yeah, this meeting was pretty heated. You may want to look at that one. So there are lots of possibilities for conversational intelligence to, for example, help address the issue of a manager who happens to be in the kind of role where they need to keep an eye on a lot of different teams. That's one potential technological application.
Absolutely, and it's comforting when you have all these disparate teams to be able to check in on it without kind of being intrusive. Because you don't want to interrupt the flow. You just want to make sure that everything's going right, and then a good manager is going to step in to facilitate a better flow if needed, or congratulate a good one. And tools like this gives them that insight without them being in the room, which is handy.
Yeah, but I have that trouble all the time in when I'm doing training sessions, having breakout rooms. So you pop into a breakout room to see how people are doing, and everybody shuts up because the professor, so to speak, is here. Oh, and they well, no, I'm here because I want to facilitate and understand what you're talking about. And I've just achieved the opposite. I've made everybody shut up.
Which is interesting because we kind of feared a little that maybe Blue Cap would have that kind of effect on conversations. But what we've been seeing from teams and hearing from teams is that they're having more rich conversations because there isn't the elephant in the room. Like they know it's there, but they don't get the same impact as when a superior is in the room or something. And they're focused on the conversation because they're not doing the ancillary tasks. They're not worrying about, oh, did I get the notes good? Did I give the wrong impression there? I mean, it's all going to come out at the end. So conversational AI is like that facilitator, but almost invisible.
Absolutely. And I think the capability is going to be in the future, near future, much different than what we have in applications. The ability of really understanding, that's a very new thing we're seeing. Before we could have other, common tasks. Summarizing is a task that's not very difficult. But what we're seeing now, the capability at scale, is that being able to understand, the computer actually understands context. And then you'd be able to automate actions based on understanding. And that's what really is going to take us to the next level in the very near future in terms of being able to not just, monitoring from certain perspective, but one would be able to ask any question on the understanding from the same human level cognitivity.
Yeah, and I listen to a lot of the people who lead DeepMind and other sort of AI experts, and everybody was, I guess it's GPT-3 now. Like the experts were stunned by what it could do. They were also stunned by how stupid it could be at times. So let's not anthropomorphize too much. But the point is that what these tools can do today is nothing compared to what they may be able to do 2 years from now. And it's a very interesting wave to be riding, to think we just don't know how fast we're going to be able to go here and what's going to be possible. But to date, and you guys have lived this, but the capability of these systems is increasing at a rate that we don't, that's hard for us to make sense of. We just don't know how smart or how dumb these things really are because it's moving so fast.
And it's only poised to get even faster. I mean, we got some insights into Google's next model, Palm, I believe it is, Fuad. And the things Palm is able to do is incredible because it's a specialist in a lot of ways and a lot of things. But you're right. That may not see the light of day for a very long time because Google is concerned about the things they don't know about Palm and what Palm does and doesn't know. So they're taking a very cautious approach to bringing it out. And I think we're going to see a bit of a slowing here. We've seen it with Microsoft on facial recognition technology. They've kind of pulled back on that for fear of inherent bias. So, while it's accelerating, I think we're at a point not of inflection, but of a slowdown in growth, because I think people are starting to sit back and say, well, are we getting a little ahead of ourselves here? Oh, Fuad, I can't hear you.
Well, Fuad, are you there?
Yes, sorry, I was in
He's
mute.
back.
Well, you're absolutely right, Justin. But coming back to what we are doing right now, that's really helping our customers is to grab those key takeaways from the meetings um, in natural language, and then using again artificial intelligence to ask questions on those key takeaways on many different, from many different perspectives to help the user, such as which were time sensitive that slipped through, which business opportunities I couldn't capture. I was distracted. So we ask a lot of questions, common sense questions on meetings that one could easily overlook, or one could, because how we naturally are, we usually leave certain things that we are not equipped to do immediately for later times. I'm talking about the psychology, for example, that was very common to me. Whenever I had an exam coming, I would start with cleaning first. Will give myself all kinds of justifications, not delaying starting.
That's me in a nutshell.
Right.
Bachelor in Canada.
So, if AI could help us with those angles, alerting us with things that are falling through, alerting us from, things that could help us augment ourselves, and that's what really helping us right now to, or our customers are telling us that that's a risk, um, you know, augmented ability that we needed for a long time.
Now, I want to talk about implementation of some of this from a managerial point of view. And, so one of my specific pieces of advice before was you want to hire technically savvy people and kind of empower them along with whatever the IT department is doing. But you want to encourage that. And related to that is on a tool like Conversational AI, you could spend years trying to study it and think about it, and not any sort of AI kind of tools, and any or no code automation, all these new tools that are coming along. And I think you don't want to have all these big committees studying these things for years. I think you want to start experimenting. And to give you a timely analogy, for Canadians listening, and you have to use the Arrive Can app to fly in and out of Canada. Well, if you're a person who say, oh, I don't need a smartphone, I'm happy with my old flip phone, and then you say, well, to get back into Canada, you need a smartphone. I'm sorry. and then they say, okay, well, I got a smartphone. How do I download an app? Well, you need to know how to download an app. And you need to know, they say, and then just upload your vaccine certificate. Well, how do I do that? What do you mean by upload? How do I download it to my phone from the government? And then how do I upload it? And is a PDF and it needs to be a JPEG? What's a JPEG? And you realize that you're not going to Florida this year because you didn't keep up with the technology. And so similarly, we could wait 10 years till conversational AI has achieved some kind of brand new sentience or whatever. But I would say just start experimenting with these tools in small ways, and year after year, you'll become, your understanding of them and what they can do and their weaknesses will just get deeper and deeper. Don't make it I don't see it as being a transformational project if we're going to transform the company by introducing conversational AI or any other kind of AI. I see it as being a slow evolution where we gradually get to know these tools, and as they grow, we grow with them.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've nailed the crux of every tech project, really. I mean, everybody wants the perfect solution, but incremental gain is always overlooked. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about incremental gains. We're talking about 15 minutes after every meeting saved. We're talking about 5 hours at the end of the week saved, 6, 7, 8 hours. It's a benefit. It's not a perfect benefit by any means, but it's better than the way we were doing things before. So jump in.
And you talked about learning. You guys have learned how to share and work collaboratively on Google Docs. At a certain point, that becomes more than we just save some minutes. At a certain point, you become good enough at it that it becomes crucial to being able to be productive and effective and have high quality work.
Absolutely.
So it starts with these little gains, and every so often it will flip into a big gain. Also, every so often in fact, quite often you'll try out a tool and you'll use it for a while or a little utility, and then you'll say, you know what, actually, this isn't helping, and you drop those, and you don't worry about it. It's just this is all part of the continual. People talk about continuous learning. Yeah, this is continuous learning. Always trying out new things.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, we've had a pretty well-rounded discussion. We've hit 30 minutes here. Any final words from either of you on the topic?
I'll just say I love talking to you guys. So thanks for the opportunity.
We'll definitely have you back sometime.
Well, thank you, David. It was a pleasure.
Alrighty, everyone that was watching, this has been another Live to Market. If you want to check out anything we've talked about here, go to www.bluecap.ai or www.uclab.ai. Yeah, that's thank you guys. Thanks again for being here.
Okay. I have to tell